Bulvanakana, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the committee of the CPA, invited guests, invited speakers, ladies and gentlemen. It's always very difficult to, I get a bit nervous when I address a group of accountants and people from the financial sector. And you always want to find something that is relevant and will keep your attention. So what I thought I'd do was build upon the statement that is delivered by the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday morning, and essentially to just make a few key points in respect of the turn of events. The Prime Minister threw a challenge to you yesterday that under the new Constitution, you now have a code of conduct for public office holders. There are unprecedented requirements of transparency and accountability for public office holders, and he threw that challenge to you that that's something that perhaps you should also adopt. Of course, that's not legally enforceable in the private sector, but something that you should adopt also. I note that as I was flicking channels yesterday evening, one of the TV stations incorrectly reported, said that the Constitution requires the private sector to have an Accountability Transparency Commission. Don't be worried, it does not apply to you per se. What I thought also was to just, using that as the context, is perhaps very quickly take you through some of the key aspects of the Constitution in the specific sections and how it will affect you. In particular, as a fraternity, as a group of accountants, qualified accountants, financial advisors, and obviously HR personnel, but also as individuals, how it will affect you. The third part of my discussion, which I hope to end with, would be to also highlight to you how it is so critically important that notwithstanding any legal changes that can be made in the Constitution, the framework, what we require from the society at large, and in particular those people who are specialists in their areas, to have and to provide an intellectual input to not just the debate, but also in terms of going forward. I mean, I always lament the fact Australia may not exactly be a good example, nonetheless it's a lot better than us. For example, when a government, before elections, when political parties come up with their manifestos, you have independent economists, financial advisors, people from different sections of the private sector who actually carry out a critique from their fraternity perspective of the manifesto. I've never seen any accountant in Fiji or any financial type of person say, well, political party A has said we're going to increase assistance in this area by X amount of dollars, we'll build roads, we'll build bridges, they promise you the sun and the moon. But has anybody actually carried out an analysis of it? And nobody seems to have the confidence from the different sectors to be able to actually appear in the media, on television, on radio, and to say, well, actually, no, we believe it is not going to work. Or it means that we'll have a budget deficit of 9%. Or it is unsustainable. Or, in fact, it is very good and it will work. Because unfortunately for us in Fiji, we are so tainted by personalities. We are so tainted or have been tainted by ethnic politics. We've been so tainted about which camp we belong in that the level of independence in terms of public debate is absent. And the challenge is that hopefully that now with this new era of a constitutional framework, of a new way of looking at Fiji, a modern way of looking at Fiji, that people like yourselves will be able to provide that debate, will be able to provide that critique independently. If we can go to the preamble of the Constitution, you will see there's some significant changes there. Essentially what we have done, the changes that have taken place, and these are topics of hot discussion. We are saying that we are the people of Fiji. We recognize the indigenous of the Itauke, the ownership of Itauke lands, their unique culture, customs, tradition, and language. recognizing the indigenous people or the Rotuman people from the island of Rotuma, the ownership of Rotuman lands, their unique culture, customs, traditions, and language. Why is it unique? Because it is indigenous. It is the only place in the world where you have these customs and traditions and practices and language being spoken and practiced. We also recognize the descendants of the indentured laborers from British India, because that's what it was when they were first brought over. And the Pacific Islands, there's been amnesia regarding the bringing over black birders to Fiji. And indeed, some may argue in terms of the indentured laborers too, overall. Their culture, customs, tradition, and language. And recognizing the descendants of the immigrants and settlers to Fiji, their culture, customs, tradition, and language. So if anybody tells you that there's been no recognition of that, there is a recognition. And as I mentioned to the new CEO of Fiji TV yesterday, that on Thursday, after the media presentation and in the evening news, the reporter who was present there did not mention the recognition of the indigenous people or the Itauke of Fiji and the indigenous or Rotuman people, but only mentioned the recognition of the indentured laborers and other immigrants and settlers. Now, in terms of the intellectual debate that I'm talking about, that is intellectual dishonesty, because they deliberately, I cannot think of any other reason, but to deliberately miss out those two key recognitions of the indigenous people, but only recognize the other two groups. And these are some of the issues that I'm talking about. It is a glaring omission. So we then declare that we're all Fijians united by common equal citizenry, and the rest of it obviously is the same as it was in the draft.